24 hours of Le Mans, some magical historical shots. It's like a juicer, isn't it? It squeezes every emotion you have in your body out of you. Right now, Simon Pagenaud is trying to squeeze everything out of his Peugeot 908. However, it is going against him on this flying lap while we're away. Andre Lotterer has put the best part of 4 seconds on the Frenchman.
Yeah, 328.1 versus a 331.3, and that's got to be the tires coming into effect there. Fresh rubber gives you a little bit more grip. Simon's on well-worn rubber, but that was their only play I think they had to do there. They had to roll the dice a little bit and try and narrow that gap that they did by coming out relatively close to the leader.
The 3 sectors around this track, it gives you various time splits. The Audi crew, we had shots in that last commercial break watching those individual sector splits, and they were fist pumping, they were high-fiving, they were elbowing each other, saying he's getting that advantage, he's starting to stretch it. Our man is in a stronger and stronger position.
They were fastest in Sector 1 and Sector 3, almost identical in Sector 2.
Yeah, and that's down the straightaways. That's basically from Tete Rouge all the way to Mulsanne. It includes the 2 chicanes, but mainly the straightaways. That's where the aero of the Peugeot has an effect. But we're, quick spin there in the background.
See the motion here.
See the emotion on Dr. Ulrich, but through that final sector, which includes that Porsche curves, Lotterer had a 1.5 seconds on the Peugeot, and that's where that downforce is really coming into play.
And those tires
right
too.
Here.
Yeah.
Remember how Simon Pagenaud was a part of that dynamic finish at the 12 Hours of Sebring, driving for his much beloved Highcroft racing team, and that was against the Orica Matmut 908. This is against the Audi R18 and Andre Lotterer. 25 minutes to go.
And now it looks fast, my gosh. You know, he is going.
Right back up. It's time to get it done. He's doing a fantastic job. Running at pace. Well, stretching out a little bit more breathing room between he and the Peugeot.
You can tell, though, he's got it right to the limit. I mean, he's really pushing hard.
That car we saw spin in the background, I've got a feeling it may have been the number 70 Porsche for Labre competition of Pascal Gibbon. I think we've got a replay. Yeah, it is.
Right in front of Simon Pagenaud as he goes through Arnage.
Gets away unscathed, however.
All right, what's the gap, boys? It's grown out to 11.1 seconds. 11 seconds in 2 laps. It's gone from 6 to 11 seconds. Power, strength to Audi's corner.
A big question mark from here on out. Hopefully there won't be any more rain. None of that annoyance. Audi has the pace, most certainly, on the Peugeot. Once he gets that bit of time stretched out, he can just kind of pace the Peugeot.
Yeah, that allows you.
Pagenaud.
That allows you to breathe in traffic. I mean, you don't want to have someone 5 seconds behind you, because that can suddenly go, and suddenly you look in your mirrors and the rival is right there. When you get it to 10, 12, we've seen delta between a clear lap and a traffic lap up to 12 seconds in this race. So that's about the margin he is right now. So he can afford to be a little bit more patient.
There we go. The 2 bosses of Audi Sport and Peugeot Sport, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich and Olivier Canel, and the emotions either side of this battle. High emotions, we should say. And these 2 young men driving these cars, car 2 and car number 9, they have both won championships in other parts of the world, in other categories in the motorsport world. Neither has ever won the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
And remember, when we had that rain a little bit earlier in this race, Simon Pagenaud was dynamic. He got the hammer down. He's really cutting into the lead of the Audi. So that may be his one chance here. If we get some drizzle, his car appeared to be hooked up, but his tires are well worn. Will he have the grip needed?
Nicolas Lapierre gives the other Peugeot, Simon Pagenaud, some room. The Orica Matmut driver moves aside to make an easy path for Pagenaud. Time running out, 23.5 to go. We're going to sneak away for our final commercial break. When we come back, we will take you all the way to the checkered flag here at Le Mans. Can this man here, Simon Pagenaud, the reigning ALMS champ, do anything about Andre Lotterer and his Audi? We'll find out. Less than 20 minutes remaining. And these guys know that they're in a position of strength. These guys being Audi Sport with their one and only R18. We've got all hands on deck here. Lee Diffie, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Scott Pruitt. We welcome back Brian Till. How about this, mate, for the final 19.5 minutes?
Oh, it's incredible. I've been watching the last couple of hours, and, you know, we've talked all day long for the past 23 hours and, 40 minutes about the downforce differences between these two cars. And, yes, the Peugeot has the straight line speed, but at this time of the race, with a dirty racetrack, a little bit of drizzle falling, that downforce is a benefit not only when you're by yourself. We just watched Lauder through traffic in the Porsche curve still gain 2 seconds a lap on Pagenaud.
I have a question for you. You've been off 4 hours. You only watched this for the last 2. What
I took a nap.
You know, you'd think at the end of the fourth stint that a driver would be pretty tired and weary, but you know, there's this thing called adrenaline. And 18 minutes to go. Man, these guys can lift
Adrenaline,
the car.
focus, and victory.
Yeah,
that's a huge motivator, right?
Carry this car on its back across if you had to.
Last time across the line, it was 14 seconds the margin. It's down to 12.7. We'll continue to monitor that for you over the next 18.5 minutes, and in particular across the 3 various sectors, to let you know how close Simon Pagenaud is getting. What does Andre Lotterer do? You know, there's not too many long-term members of this Audi Sport family who have not enjoyed victory here at Le Mans. That man there, Dindo Capello, has enjoyed 3. However, the 3 guys who occupy this car, they're new to the Audi family, and they are yet to post Le Mans 24-hour victories. Today could be their day.
Andre Lotterer, all he has to do is pace. He just has to pace the Peugeot right now, Pagenaud. 12 seconds is a huge gap, almost 13 seconds, and he just needs to get to the checkered flag right now.
And communication. I mean, just they need to be talking to him, telling him everything that he's doing, where his gaps are, where his splits are. They got those segment times just like we do the sector times. You know, just keep this thing going for a little bit longer.
You have to wonder who they're on the phone to. Sometimes they'll actually have a plane circulating to look for weather and stuff. They use the radar, of course, but it's going to be close. I mean, he can't afford to breathe much. Traffic has had a huge factor here this weekend. We talk about the new regulations. These P1s do not have the acceleration that they once had. That has made it tremendously difficult for these drivers to be cautious, yet maintain lap time around this race.
What I'm talking about is pacing Pagenaud, not letting up, but just pacing him.
Yeah.
He's going to have a good understanding of where that gap is to the second place.
Gavin, you're getting a call. I think they want some advice here.
You know, guys, if you take a step back and have a think about the big events in motorsport this year, if we talk about sports cars, first up, Rolex 24 at Daytona. The old fella down the end of the commentary booth here got another victory, but the story there again. First victory with Graham Rahal. Terrific story there. Daytona 500, Trevor Bayne. Wasn't that a surprise? Indy 500. It looked like it was going to be J.R. Hildebrand, and then Danny Weldon got his second victory just coming in to do that one event. Sebring was interesting with Team Orica Matmut doing it, and Highcroft almost winning. There's been so many intriguing stories, and if you were to lay a bet down at the beginning of this weekend, coming into this weekend, nobody would have backed car number 2. It's, of course, the famed car number 3 with McNish, Capello, and Mr. Le Mans, Tom Christensen, all the defending winners. These are the guys that nobody paid much attention to, and it's turning their way here at Le Saf.
I think the biggest surprise, though, is you breaking 90 on the golf course.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
That is why you run a 3-car team or a multi-car team, because you never know what's going to happen. And the 2 cars that you would have thought would be the ones that would be leading right now, of course, were eliminated quickly, or at least the first, with McNish in the first hour.
You don't want to let up, as we see here in traffic, but at the same time, you can't give up too much.
RML car just wanders a little bit wide coming off the Porsche curves there. You're going to be on your toes. This is really nail-biting time for everyone, the drivers, the crews. Just watching. Dindo Capello has a smile on his face. He's not feeling the pressure right now. He'd love to see Audi pull it off. Is this Dindo's last run at Le Mans in one of these prototypes?
You know, you mentioned Trevor Bayne, you mentioned these other young drivers, the 3 young drivers in this car, and I think that communication is important over these last 15 minutes. Stay in his head. Don't let him think about anything but the job at hand. You give him the segment times, you give him the speeds, you give him the gaps, and you keep him focused. Don't leave him alone with himself.
Lee talked about it. J.R. Hildebrand. You know, was he talked through that final lap? We heard the radio communication bring it home. He needed some information, Scott. He needed to know what the gap was and what he could afford to do.
We talked about that over and over and over after the Indy 500, and that's it. A young driver, a rookie driver, he needs as much help from the team big picture, the experience to get that sucker of the checkered flag. This is, I'm sure, absolutely what's going on right now. Push hard, pace that Peugeot. Don't take any unnecessary risks in traffic.
Oh, just I'm sorry, 390 miles an hour.
And we said earlier that this trio of drivers in this car, Trellier, Fessler and Lotterer, are anything but rookies. They're far from rookies. They're championship-winning drivers in various categories. However, their experience at Le Mans is not like their Audi counterparts or like those at Peugeot, particularly for this man steering the wheel, feeling the weight, all that pressure of the four rings. It's only his third visit to Le Mans. First year in a customer car, last year part of the Audi factory program, and this year, do they rise to the top? We'll know in 13.5 minutes.
How did Andre get this opportunity? Well, he ran with Collis a couple of years ago. Jules Hausner is in charge of the technical department at Audi, was running that squad that year. He super impressed him. He wanted him back on the regular factory team, and then Benoit Trullier is wanted him back on the regular factory team, and then Benoit Trullier is a really big buddy of Lotterer, and he was brought in, drafted in as well. And it's all about the chemistry of the group. They have a lot of belief in these young drivers, and the chemistry between those three guys driving the car this weekend has been tremendous.
And traffic certainly not playing into the hand of Pagenaud right now. You saw him get jammed up between three cars. That'll cost him a couple seconds.
You don't just fall into one of these rides, is what you're saying, Galvin. I mean, these guys are very deserving, and they're looked at quite hard before they even have any type of an opportunity even to test.
Scotty, you nailed it there. You said it's going to cost him a couple of seconds. 2.2 seconds in segment 2. Pagenaud just lost to our leader.
You just saw a quick shot there of the legend Reinhold Jost. There's Ralf Juttner. There's only been 2 occasions when Audi has won in this amazing decade, a little bit more than a decade since they've been running here at Le Mans, where it's a team not run by Reinhold Jost that won. There was 1 victory to Audi Team Go, 1 victory to champion Audi. Of course, that American victory with Dave Mirage's group. The rest belonged to Reinhold Jost and Audi Sport.
And Brad Kettler obviously is a big part of that champion win here, and he's going to play a big part here today, really leading this team through his experience and guidance. He said last year these guys were wide-eyed and green. It was really a learning experience. Well, they came up second. This year they're looking to go one better.
In a sea of Germans, there are only 2 Americans involved, Dominic Zeitler and Brad Kettler, and that's a huge compliment to those guys.
It really is. They are really buried in the heart of Audi. I mean, Brad spends so much time throughout the course of the year involved with his sports car project, also the R8 race car project as well. And they truly believe in him. This will be a tremendous, tremendous day for him if they can pull it off.
And of these 3 drivers, it was Marcel Fessler who's really been invisible. He hasn't done anything dramatic. He did his job, went out and ran the pace. We saw Trullier with some fantastic moves, some daring moves in traffic. Lotterer carrying the weight, as you said, Lee, on his shoulders to the checkered flag. Fessler almost invisible, but doing his job, a very valuable part of this team. We talked within the break and said, who's the most valuable player? And to a man in this room, who all said they all are.
Look at the split now, 16.5 seconds, just over 16.5 seconds between the Audi and the Peugeot.
It continues to grow.
Yeah, I think some of that was traffic there. There you see tears in the eyes of Olivier Canel. And he realizes that there's been so much effort put into this brand new race car. It's more of an evolution with this 908 than revolution that we see with the R18. But nonetheless, they have done tremendous work. Their car has been on the track since last August. They have done 11 35-hour tests. They have really put their heart and soul into this project. And right now, with 10 minutes to go on the board, they look like they're going to come up a little bit short.
These guys, the top 2, are going to soak up much of the TV attention in this final 10 minutes. So let's give an important shout out and acknowledgement to American teams and drivers in the other classes, because we're going to have American teams and drivers and cars on the podium in the other 3 classes. That is phenomenal. Scott Tucker's level 5 team with Christophe Bouchou at the wheel is 3rd in the P2 class. It's the only American team in prototypes. In GTE Pro, it's looking like an American victory with 10 minutes to go. Antonio Garcia for Corvette Racing leads the way. Joey Hand is also going to be on the podium in his BMW. And in GTE AM, Andrea, David Robertson and Dave Murray continue to hold on to their 3rd spot at the team's debut performance at Circuit de la Sarthe. So many wonderful storylines here in 2011.
In sports car racing, alive and well. You look through GTE Pro and you look at the different marks. We've talked about those. Chevrolet, Ferrari, BMW make up the podium there. 3 different chassis manufacturers in the top 3 in the LMP2 category. We've got diversity, we've got competition, and as I said, sports car racing alive and well.
The IMSA Performance Matmut car, the 76 of Raymond Narek, who knows how to win here at Le Mans. He's been a class winner in GT before, stays wide, gives Andre Lotter a room through Indianapolis.
Yeah, clear road ahead right now. He's really into a nice rhythm. Really fast lap times, 3:27.3, just 2 seconds off the fastest lap of the race that was set by Andre. Back on lap 2:29, we're now on lap 3:51.
Can't help think about the GTE Pro class. I know we're paying a lot of attention to prototype and for overall victory, but we heard from Corvette Racing Program Leader Doug Feehan. Remember, it's Corvette's 100th birthday. He said, I could not have written this script any better. For this car to be in a position to go to victory lane, to be on the top step of the podium at Le Mans, we couldn't ask for it to be any better.
What a great story for Corvette, for the whole team. After that tragic crash with Magnussen, his team car back out in front.
And you soak that up too, mate. You were part of Corvette history. You were part of that very first winning trio in 2001 for Corvette Racing. So I know that you'll enjoy it. In less than 8 minutes time, the Bowtie boys can take that checkered flag still out in front in GT Pro.
Tell you what, Simon Pagenaud is driving the wheels off this thing, hustling through the Ford chicanes there. Oh, he gets a little bit wide there.
Saw a little sprinkle on the lens of that car camera.
Yeah, there is.
Right
I think there's some dampness on that racetrack right now. You saw Simon turn into that chicane there and got a little bit wide. Had to correct his line for the next one.
Stuff you got to really watch for on an 8-mile track, 8.5 miles. It can be getting wet in one area. Look on the windscreen here. Most of that's just dirt, though, I think.
Motor down the Mulsanne at 3.5 minutes per lap, and looking at the clock, it should be another 3 laps. He'll get to the line after 2 laps with still a little time on the clock. Perhaps 3 more laps. Yeah, slow up, exactly.
Well, there's no cruise
can't
lap.
slow up enough. Yeah.
Normally when it's well in hand, you'll see a form finish and some cruising to the line. That will not be happening today. And you see the stress on the men. There's Mr. Le Mans, Tom Christensen, but you see the stress on the faces of Olivier Canal and Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich. The reason why, they're the gentlemen who have to face the board of Peugeot and of Audi and explain why they're spending tens of millions of dollars to go sports car racing. The filter down effect, the relevance to road car and production car technology and development and production. It's all born here on the racetrack. They're here to prove a point about diesel technology, about for various technologies, LED lights, for instance, that have gone from the Audi race car to the Audi road car. It's all about what they do here on the racetrack, and it's they can say that their technology is better, that is best.
And 24 hours, what a better way to prove it right here, right now. The amount of time and effort and energy that goes into these teams before they get here, the amount of cycle time on every piece and part on that car, uprights and engine, headlights. I mean, every piece and part on those cars that we're looking at right now. I mean, it's an amazing achievement that these guys are doing.
And in a few minutes, when they let those fans over the fences, you're going to see the purchasers, the buyers, the fans of the mark, and a whole lot of them.
And Dr. Ulrich has spoken recently about the fact that they have decided not to enter Formula One. The question has been asked once again. He's saying, no, we remain in sports cars with its relevance to road cars. At Le Mans, the cars do on a full run, as we saw last year, without all of the caution, about 325 miles more than a Formula One car does in a complete season. So it's a true test of endurance, and that speed includes pit stops, and 20 miles an hour faster, almost half the fuel used. So this diesel technology, they came out with that TDI petrol-powered engine, that was revolutionary, and then they came here with diesel and won first time out.
Can you hold your breath for 5 minutes?
And every year it seems like more technology. And Calvin, you pointed it out when we asked Dr. Ulrich about the V6 engine and all the extra space that was left inside the confines of that chassis. He smiled and said, so that perhaps we can add other systems in the future. Will we see Audi yet again as we look forward to 2012 Will there be a diesel, hybrid, or perhaps some other type power plant in the back of the four rings?
Yeah, I think it's broken suspension.
broken
It's not a
suspension.
tire. Looks like that right rear has a lot of camber to it.
And just remember, it's never over until it's over.
4.5
Still
minutes.
got 4.5 minutes.
And we always refer to the Indy
laps.
500 this year.
Like right there, you got a wounded car. Never know which way it's going to go.
Shinji Nakano behind the wheel of the Oak Racing 49 stays wide. It's fourth in class in P2 and time on his side. He should get there. Hugh de Schoenack coming to speak with his dear friends at Peugeot, Olivier Canal, with 4 to go.
You talk about the investment, Lee, and when you drive into the Le Mans circuit and you see just the hospitality units alone, multi-story, they're like buildings that they erect for this one event. The investment is massive.
There is no quit in Simon Pagenaud. You look at his lap times, they have stayed consistent. He is pressing on. Just over 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go here after almost a 24-hour battle. It should just be one more lap for Lauder as it comes to the line the next time. Pagenaud will not quit until he crosses the line.
Then it's mayhem from that point
Yes,
forward.
and it is mayhem.
What an incredible day. A 24-hour period. We've seen tragedy. We've seen excitement. I mean, full of emotions on both ends of the spectrum, and now coming down to these final laps.
Not to discount Pagenaud's teammates, but his commitment to this program. Remember, he started here 3 times before for a non-finish. His home is in Indianapolis. He has been away from his home ever since Sebring, committed to this program. They did fitness training in Toulouse. They did group bonding, team building in Chamonix, whether that would have been mountain climbing. They did rock climbing. They did a bunch of stuff. And for Olivier Canal, they have worked so hard, and they've been so close. It's 17 seconds away, and we've only got 2 3/4 minutes to go.
And there's going to be a flood of emotions based on what we've gone through over the last 24 hours.